In all the 9 worlds, there is one place like no other, where the rocks crop just so, and the mountains' constant strainings have formed a hollow. It is the only place Odin, the Allfather, Odin, the Allseer, cannot see from Hildisklaf, his seat of vintage in Asgard. An obscure corner of Midgard, this remote, desolate place is called, for reasons lost to myth, to history, Fragnangsfors. To this place he has come, Loki the trickster, Loki the shapeshifter, Loki the cursed. The first thing he did was build a house with 4 walls and 4 windows, so no one could surprise him whichever way they approached. Yet still, he felt fear. Using thread from his clothes, he wove a net to catch fish in the churning pool at the base of the falls. The thread reminded him of... But no, that humiliation was over. He was done with that now. He would never be bound like that again. The fish he caught he ate raw, worried that the smoke from any flame might curl into the air above the mountains and be seen from Asgard. After dark, cold as it was, Loki lit no fire, where its orange glow would bounce off the rocks and be reflected up towards the heavens. At night he slept, if he slept at all, fitfully. His dreams were scorpions, stinging his mind over and over. So much so that he felt a kind of relief when, on the 7th day of his exile, he looked up and saw Geri and Freki, Allfather's wolves. If they attack, Loki thought, I can become a bird and fly out of their reach. I can become a fish, and they would not follow me into the water. But they didn't attack. They saw what they saw, then set off for Asgard. And that night, Loki lit a fire and fanned its flames until it glowed like a beacon, and the Cursed One waited. His eyes transfixed by the flames, by what they saw, remembered in them. Night became day, became night again, until finally he heard a voice that rumbled like thunder. Brother Loki, all Asgard has been searching for you. Of course, thought Loki. Of course it would be him. His name be Loki, Thor. The way I treat him as a son, you treat him as a brother. I would like us to talk, Loki. I would like to understand. What's that, Storm God? Why did what you did? Ah, because that is my piece of the story. I do not believe that. I believe men make their own destiny, says he who would be king of all kings, and were gods, not men. What's that? Speak up. It should have been mine, Mjolnir. It was meant to have been mine. This is one of the old tales of the sly one, Loki, when he was just a boy, practicing his riding with Balder, the most adorned of the gods. She's beautiful, Loki, isn't she? Yes, Balder. Sif is. Balder laughed. Look elsewhere, Loki. There are many beautiful women in Asgard, and Sif's heart is bound to Thor's. Of course, thought the trickster. Of course she would be his. Sif with her beautiful golden hair. That night, the shapeshifter slipped into Sif's room. He had with him his curved knife, a souvenir from his childhood among the frost giants. Loki was deft with his knife, and in the moonlight, its blade looked like silverfish, darting through shallow water. The next morning, as was his custom, Loki performed his magics for the assembled gods. Even then, the sly one was more wizard than warrior. Odin was there, and Freya, and Heimdall and Frigg, and... Loki! Thor, wait, please! None of your lies, Loki! Fix what you did, or I will crush every wretched bone in your body. Odin sighed. It worried him whenever Thor bullied his younger, smaller brother. Thor, fix what? Here, Allfather. My hair. It was a joke, a prank, and I will make it right, I swear. Within the hour, Loki had set off for Svartalfheim, the land of dark elves. Only the sons of Ivaldi are worthy enough, and clever enough, to spin gold as fine as woman's hair. You flatter like you lie, trickster. Why should we help you? To win the gratitude of Thor and Sif, to curry favor with all the gods. to earn my undying loyalty? That I can pledge to you forever, if you do this thing. Pretty empty words, thought the dwarves, though, if there were even a small chance to please the gods. And so they set to work. One brother manned the bellows, the other hammered the gold. It fascinated the sly one to watch creatures make things. He wondered what it would be like, so different from breaking things and causing mischief. In the end, the sons of Ivaldi presented Loki with the wave of golden strands for Sif, a magic spear they called Gungnir, and an enchanted collapsible ship they called Skidbladnir. Our fires were still blazing when we finished the hair. It cost us little to make these other gifts for the gods of Asgard. A plan bloomed in Loki's mind like a dark flower. Well done, sons of Ivaldi. All of Asgard shall hear of your prowess. But the trickster did not go back to Asgard, at least not yet. He went instead to the hall of Brock and Eitri, two other dwarves renowned for their smithery. Have you ever seen such craftsmanship, such handiwork? Do you, Eitri, think you could make treasures as fine as these? No question. These things aren't so special. I can't imagine that. In fact, I'll stake my head on it. If you can craft treasures more splendid than the ones the sons of Ivaldi made, I'll forfeit my head to you, happily. The dwarves, eager to separate Loki's head from his body, and to take the hair, spear, and ship for themselves, accepted the bet and set to work. While outside their hall, Loki mused. The gods would love him for his gifts. They would look at him and think, it doesn't matter that he isn't as strong as Thor, as beautiful as Balder. Look at how Loki honors us with these treasures. Unless, of course, he lost the bet with Eitri. Curiously, as Eitri and Brock started their walk on the third treasure, a wasp entered their chamber, buzzing about Eitri's ears, stinging him on his eyelids at a particularly delicate moment. Ah, cursed wasp! When Eitri and Brock emerged from their hall, they had no idea what Loki, the shapeshifter, had done. They presented their treasures, a golden arm ring, a golden boar, and this hammer is Mjolnir. A wasp bit my left eyelid. The blood from the sting blinded me for a moment, and half of its handle broke off. Mjolnir. It was, Loki thought, as though the hammer were made for him, a runt, like him, flawed, like him, misunderstood, like him, but magnificent no question. Go with Loki, hear Odin's judgment, and claim the trickster's head. On the way back to Asgard, Loki carried the massive hammer close to his body, the way a mother would a child. In glad time, before the assembled gods, Loki presented his gifts, asking Odin to judge which one was worthiest. He used his magic to restore Sif's golden hair. He gave Odin the spear Gungnir, thinking the jester would ensure that All-Father to create the greatest treasure, allowing Loki to keep his head. It never misses its mark, nor fails to kill. The arm ring he gave to Freya, Heimdall the boar, and Skidbladnir, the magic ship, to Balder. It is, perhaps, not as beautiful as you, Balder, but blow on its sails, and it swells large enough to carry all the gods of Asgard. It seemed, then, that all the gift-giving was done, but Brock raised a hand. There is one other treasure my brother Eitri forged in his fires. Somewhat reluctantly, the sly one presented the mighty hammer, Mjolnir. That one, beautiful as my spear is, and though the handle is shorter than one might expect, that hammer triumphs everything else we have seen today. Wait, All-Father, that means Loki's head is forfeit. Loki's head is Brock's. The gods laughed, then. What happened next? How would the trickster escape his fate? They knew that if Loki was anything, he was clever. My. My head may be forfeit, but my neck is not. If you can take my head without compromising my neck, it is yours. If not, then Loki's head stays with Loki. The gods murmured and nodded to each other. Loki made a fine point. But Brock was not yet done, and appealed to the god who might hear him. Thor, you have honor. You know Loki's tricks. Help me. You will not make a mockery of everything, Loki. Thor and Brock fell on Loki. Thor held the squirming trickster down while Brock used an owl and leather twine to. I may have not gotten my prize, your head, but that at least will keep your lips from telling any more lies for a while. The gods chuckled. It had been well played on all sides. Thor, for living with honor, for being a friend to the dwarves. Take this hammer, Mjolnir. Forged with our magics, it is unbreakable, but it will break anything. Hurl it as far as you can, but it will always come back to your hand. Mjolnir. And so, Thor, son of Odin, became the god of thunder, while his half-brother, Loki, stared on, unable to object, because his lips had been sewn shut by a dwarf. The fire is burning low, and Thor is thinking, is that how it happened? Is that how Mjolnir came into his possession? It is difficult to know with these old stories what is true, what is myth. Looking at the past, Thor has always thought, is like looking at a mountain through mist. You can see it clearly one moment, then it fades. No one sewed your lips shut, Loki. I would not have let that happen. I would not have helped. But you did! You helped and you laughed! And Odin laughed, and Balder laughed! I ran out of Gladsheim and I heard you. I heard the laughter as I pulled the thread from my mouth and thought, I do not belong. I am alone. What I remember clearly from that time before time is that after you returned with your treasures for the gods and wove the golden locks back onto Sif's head, Asgard went to sleep, and the next morning we awoke. And my beautiful Sif, with her beautiful golden hair, he did this, Thor. Loki, out of spite. I never! That's a lie! I restored that harlot's hair. These stories are irrelevant. Irrelevant? Thor, these stories are everything. These stories are our lives. My life. You ask me why I did what I did. Ask rather why the serpent Ninghog eats the roots of Yggdrasil. Why, when the tree's death means in turn the dragon's ruin? Because, Thor, I keep telling you, that is what it was born to do. That is what I was born to do. Loki, you murdered our brother Balder, the most gentle and beautiful of the gods. You have made the fall of Asgard, the twilight of the gods, an inevitability. The prophecy of Ragnarok, Loki. The death of Balder precipitates the death of all the gods. You have doomed us. I knew of no such prophecy. You did. Gladsheim is hallowed ground. No blood can be spilled in that sacred place. Though you did. You spilled Balder's blood in Gladsheim. But we are not in Gladsheim right now. And you, Loki, you shall be judged.